It started with a simple idea. What if I played through every game I ever wanted to finish? That idea became the 1K Backlog Catalog, 1,000 games across 10 consoles, and my mission to beat them all, one by one.
Super Mario Bros. 2, game number 5 in the challenge. Released in 1988, Super Mario Bros. 2 was developed and published by Nintendo. Lunchables also had its debut in 1988. As a kid, Lunchables was the first time I realized that some families have more money than other families. The kids with the Lunchables appeared to be the high rollers in the school cafeteria. Honestly, I was an adult before I finally had tried Lunchables, and well, it's not anything special. It's cheese and crackers and a little treat. Anyway, the Super Mario Bros. 2 we got in the West was famously a reskin of Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic. I hope I pronounced that correctly. In fact, they were nearly identical. There's the addition of Mario and friends, and a few objects in the world are different, but mostly it's the same music, same enemies, same levels, and mostly the same bosses. There would be a few elements introduced in the Super Mario Bros. 2 game that would carry on throughout the series. Most notably, for me, would be the ability to pick up items and throw them. So, let's get into Super Mario Bros. 2, starting with the story. One evening, Mario had a strange dream. He dreamt of a long stairway leading up to a door. As soon as the door opened, he was confronted with a world he had never seen before, spreading out as far as his eyes could see. When he strained his ears to listen, he heard a faint voice saying, "Welcome to Subcon, the land of dreams. We have been cursed by Wart, and we are completely under his evil spell. We have been awaiting your arrival. Please defeat Wart and return Subcon to its natural state. The curse Wart has put on you in the real world will not have any effect on you here. Remember, Wart hates vegetables. Please help us." At the same time this was heard, a bolt of lightning flashed before Mario's eyes. Stunned, Mario lost his footing and tumbled upside down. He awoke with a start to find himself sitting up in his bed. To clear his head, Mario talked to Luigi, Toad, and Princess about the strange dream he had. They decided to go to a nearby mountain for a picnic. After arriving at the picnic area and looking at the scenery, they see a small cave nearby. When they enter this cave, to their great surprise, there is a stairway leading up, and up. It is exactly like the one Mario saw in his dream. They all walk together up the stairs, and at the top, they find a door just like the one in Mario's dream. When Mario and his friends, in fear, open the door, to their surprise, the world that he saw in his dreams spreads out before them. The title screen summarizes the story, and pressing start brings up the character selection screen. Each character has different jumping power. Mario is an all-around average jumper. His height decreases a little when he's carrying an item. Luigi can jump the highest and go the furthest, but he jumps slower, and when he has an item, he jumps even less than Mario. Toad has the smallest jumping power, but he has the best lifting power, and the height he can jump is not affected by him carrying an item. And finally, Princess Toadstool. Princess Toadstool has the third best jumping power, but she can float in the air for 1.5 seconds, making it insanely easy to pinpoint your jumps, as well as giving you more time to dodge enemy attacks. To start out, I choose Mario, as I feel a good all-around character will be a nice place to start to learn the game and just get used to the mechanics of Super Mario Bros. 2. You can do a few new things in Super Mario Bros. 2. You're able to pick up items and throw them. One thing to note is the mushroom power-ups need to be picked up in this game, versus Super Mario Bros. 1, you could just simply run over them. There are several different items we'll find along the way that'll be quite helpful, such as coins, vegetables, turtle shells, bombs, and mushroom bricks. We also have mushrooms, 1-ups, hearts, and POW blocks, and keys that need to unlock doors throughout the game. At last but not least, there is a potion. You can pick it up, and when you throw it down, it creates a door. So you throw the door down, and there can be all kinds of items to collect, mostly just coins. The most important item in the game is the coins. At the end of each stage, you'll get a little gambling slot machine, and you can use your coins to hopefully win additional lives. Now, believe it or not, there is some skill involved here, and I went cross-eyed many times trying to max out my chances at more lives. Getting 3 cherries in a row will get you 5 more lives. The graphics here are a massive step up from Super Mario Bros. It's one of the best looking games on the NES I've played so far. The sprites are good in size with a nice amount of detail, and the environments look fuller and richer. Games with graphics like these are a delight to look at. The music is good, but it's noticeably not a Mario sounding game. There are some spots where they have added some Mario music in, like when you use a door to jump to another dimension. There's a mix of old and new Mario audio. You have some of the classic Mario sounds that make a return, like the jump sound or the grabbing the star. I don't dislike anything that's being done here, but you can tell why some people call this the sort of odd one out in the Mario Brothers universe. The gameplay feels great. This feels like a new, different Mario game that expands on what was already working with our mustachioed plumber, but with a skin that belongs to a strange fever dream. I mean, Mario has been ingesting a rather large amount of mushrooms, so maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. So long as we don't find ourselves taking a rocket ship into the sky, I'm sure everything's gonna be fun. I do miss the Fire Flower power-up from the previous game. However, there's enough new and interesting things going on here. The platforming is elevated and challenging, and the boss fights are varied and enjoyable. Let's get into the playthrough. After selecting a character, I'm immediately falling out of a door in the sky. Going through the door at the bottom, I see there are several vegetables to pick up and throw, and an abundance of enemies to start testing our throwing abilities. The game quickly shows you its new items and enemies, showing you your first magical door and having you pick up a mushroom power-up. The health works different in this game. You have 4 health diamonds. When you're at full health, Mario does not turn into a small Mario until he's down to his very last diamond. After climbing a series of vines, I get up to my first encounter with the mini-boss Birdo. Jumping on her eggs she shoots out and throwing them back at her 3 times will defeat her, and she will drop an orb. Picking up the orb will open the giant bird head's mouth for me, and I can walk into. Why a giant bird head, you ask? Because why not? I play my Gamba minigame and move on to the next level. World 1-2. In this level, I meet a bird that can't fly, so he uses a magic carpet. Yep, I need to pluck him out of the top and then take the magic carpet across the sky. This carpet will time out and disappear, so you don't want to linger on it for too long. There are white vases I can go down and I can explore. The next vase I go into has a key I can pick up to unlock a door just ahead. Picking up the key causes these masked dudes to come after you, so making a quick move here is very important. The masked guys are called Phanto. Unlocking the door and heading inside presents this bombable wall. This is a very simple version of a puzzle that plays out many times throughout the game. They get harder and harder later in the game. Using the bombs correctly to open up the walls will take a little bit of practice, otherwise you'll get stuck and you'll be unable to progress. You'll have to back out and reset the room. The end of this level sees us taking on Birdo yet again. World 1-3. The next level seems like more of the same until I enter a large building at the end and I am presented with a long vertical platforming room. I can climb up the chains. If I fall down, there's some spikes at the bottom I need to avoid. The goal here is the key at the very top of the room. It's being guarded by several Phanto. I unfortunately die here and it was my last life, so I need to use a continue. The continues in this game will send you all the way back to the first level of the world you're on. For example, dying here in World 1-3 will send me back to World 1-1. I get back to the key finally and manage to weave my way down to the bottom of the room and unlock the door. At the end of this level, we simply can pick up an orb and get into the bird's mouth, moving on. I am teleported into a boss room and I have my first encounter with the boss Mauser. This guy is super cool with his sunglasses and he's just hurling bombs almost non-stop. The manual says Mauser is the bomber of bad dreams that destroy good dreams. It's proud and doesn't believe it's just a mouse. This very cool boss is defeated by picking up the bombs and throwing them onto his platform. 3 hits and Mauser is no more. World 2-1 has me off to the desert. Filled with pyramids and quicksand, I also have a new enemy that's a snake that can shoot pellets. These snake guys are called Cobrat. I enter one of the pyramids and I have this Dig Dug style sand pit that I have to dig down to the bottom of, all while avoiding these shy guys who will fall into any of the holes that I'm digging. So I have to dig strategically. The room at the bottom prevents me with another Birdo fight. I take her out and move on to the next level. Still in the desert, there's some white vases to check out here and there. I feel like you never know when one might have something useful, so I'm happy to explore most of them. Entering this door, I find a bombable wall that has a 1-up and a door to drop down. I climb down the vine and have another digging section with a door at the bottom taking me to another Birdo fight. This time Birdo can randomly shoot fireballs, adding a new wrinkle to the fight. I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of these fights though, so I take him down pretty quickly. World 2-3. Up a ladder and back into the desert, I am met with several flying things called Bezos. These guys will swoop at you, follow you, and eventually they will leave me alone as I come across this prickly boy called Pokey. I jump this one and head into the pyramid. This is a big room to fall down and I can see a locked door with more digging in the center of the room. Let me guess, I bet there's a key down there. Of course there is. Another game over and I need to work my way all the way back here from World 1-1. I get back down to the key room. At this point it appears that all the keys will be guarded by Phanto. I grab the key and I get back up to the door and unlock it. The next room has an orb at the end I can just pick up and move on. I drop into another boss fight. This time I face off against a 3-headed fireball spitting serpent that is Triclyde. Triclyde was once an outsider, but now he is one of Wart's helpers since he impressed Wart with his cunning brain and offensive capabilities, which are 3 times the normal strength. This is another cool boss fight and I need to pick up the mushroom bricks, throw them at him. 3 bricks does it, and Triclide fades. The next level has this massive waterfall that I fall down almost immediately. As I'm falling, however, I notice that there's a door at the bottom of the waterfall. Entering the door shows several vegetables to pick up and a magic door. If I use this area effectively, I should be able to collect several coins for my future runs. Now it looks like I need to climb my way back up this waterfall using the clouds. I need to steal this Pidgeot's magic carpet and then make my way up to this vine in the sky. Apparently that's easier said than done. There is some platforming in the clouds and a door at the end leads me to another Birdo fight. This one's a much smaller platform to work with. I'm quickly defeated and sent back to the beginning of World 3. I can use the mushroom bricks against him, but getting to them proves to be quite difficult. I end up wiping here and it's a full reset. I do finally get past this Birdo after a bit of trial and error, but I don't think I have a sustainable strategy for this one yet. Coming into the next area, an ostrich looking guy with a shy guy on his back comes racing towards me. These guys are called Ostros. This level also shows that there is an underground area that I'm able to try and find my way down to. Not only do I have to avoid the Ostros, but also the swooping Bezos. I do eventually make my way down this ladder where I find the first challenging bomb wall puzzle. I need to pick up and throw these bombs at the wall in a certain order in order to be able to progress. The bombs don't appear to fall down ladders, so I need to carry them and throw them to the walls. Getting through here is a ladder and a flower throwing fire in a pattern I can't quite work out, so I walk into it and I die. For another reset. It's at this point I'm ready to experiment with a new character and I'm trying out Princess Toadstool. I feel like I need some new blood to keep this fresh and interesting. I get back to the flower and I'm able to get past it and head down the ladder. I get to this door and head out to another Birdo battle. I scrape by in this one and we're on to the next level. Starting out in World 3-3, it looks like more of what I've been seeing so far until I come across these flying birds dropping bombs near me. This jerk is called an albatos and the bombs he's dropping are bombs. Entering into the big building, I see a door above and in this room there is infinitely spawning shy guys I need to avoid. At the top of this room there is a key I need to take all the way back down to unlock the door in the other room. It's after another full reset I take the time to realize that these slot machines at the end of each level are not random and it can in fact be won more often than not if you take your time to focus on getting the cherries. At one particular playthrough I was able to rack up 19 extra lives. Grabbing the key and taking it down took a bit of start and stop. When you throw the key, Phantom will go away for a little while until you pick it back up. So if you need a bit of a reset, this is a good idea to have in mind. Inside the locked door is a vertical platforming section that leads up to a door that has some chains to climb up and across. The platforming in this area has really gone up a notch. There are several times I die in this section as I learn what's going on. The reward when getting to the top is an orb that lets us move on. Thank goodness, because World 3-3 has been a pain. All into a boss area and we have the return of Mauser. This time he feels slightly higher on his platform, so I have to use the elevated area to get enough distance on my bomb throws. Other than that though, it's pretty much the same strategy. He does take more hits, but he ultimately does meet his demise. World 4-1. We finally hit our snow/ice level, and now with the biggest change being how I run. I have to account for the sliding and some of the enemies slide as well. The white slippy slidey dudes are called Flurry, and at the end of a small section I pull up a vegetable and it turns into a damn rocket ship. What the crap is this game? I'm taken up to another level. I soon see what looks like a shy guy in a shopping cart and my immediate thought is,
Hello, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
these things are called auto bombs and can shoot fireballs. Getting past several of these guys, I'm able to pick up an orb and jump into the bird's mouth again. 4-2 starts out by throwing several patterns of Bezos flying straight at me. Then there's a few flurry thrown in there as well just to complicate things a little bit more. I find a door in the sky to end this madness, and the next section has several whales spouting water up from their blowholes. You can jump into the top of the water spout, but you can't touch the sides. I see this random white vase and I immediately think this must have something good in it because I have not seen one in a level for a while. I die many times trying to get to this damn vase, and when I do get there, I can't even go in it. I find another ground rocket and it takes me up to this area where I need to take this shy guy off of the Autobomb, ride the Autobomb across these spikes. Sure, easy, no problem. After several tries and fails, I do finally get on this damn thing, and the door at the end leads into a Birdo fight on the ice, and it proves to be a different kind of challenging. After a couple of attempts, I do get past him and move on. This level starts out by throwing a Birdo right at me. I'm able to take her out quickly, and I soon realize I actually need to jump on top of one of the eggs she shoots bricks. This takes me to a building with all platforms made of ice, and I need to platform my way to the top. The door at the top leads me to the next building over, and I need to piggyback on one of these Shy Guys across the spikes. After a big fall, I find a key in this room, and I'm sure I'm going to need to take it down to some locked door at the bottom. This leads to a building with an orb I can pick up and clear this level. I'm dropped into yet another boss room with this fire-spitting dude. His name is Fry Guy, and I need to pick up these mushroom bricks and hit him until he splits into several smaller versions of himself. Unfortunately, these little guys get the better of me, and I need to work my way back here. It's while having to redo this part several times I learn about the warp to level 6. That lone vase near the whales bothered me so much for so long. I did a small Google search to read about it. It turns out dropping a magic door near that vase allows me to use it as a warp. This makes sense because the first Mario game also had several warp points you could discover. So now I'll be using this trick from here on out. I also know of another vase earlier in the game that seemed out of place, and I can't wait to try it on that one. Using our newly acquired warp tricks, we can get to level 6-1 really quickly. We're back in the desert now with more of the same stuff that we've been seeing so far. Just more pokies and lots of Cobra to get through until I get to this door. In here, there's about a dozen vases to try and get into and explore. Some of them have mushroom bricks on top of them. When you take it off, it starts spawning Shy Guys, and I realize that this is more hassle than it's worth, only to find a locked door at the end of this hall. So the key must be in one of those vases. One of the vases has a digging section, which obviously is going to lead to a key. Through the door, I see yet another Birdo I have to take down using the mushroom blocks. I take it out. The next level requires me to jump on a bird's back, proceed to ride and platform them across an open gap. Peach's float ability comes in so handy here. Through the door on the far side, of course, has yet another Birdo to fight. I'm able to drop bricks on her and grab the orb and get out of here. A small desert section leads to a large opening in the side of the mountain. Inside is the largest wall bombing area I have seen so far, but that's only if you want to try and explore it all. It looks like it's honestly just more trouble than it's worth, so after a bit of trial and error, I decided just to move on. So I go up the vine to the next area. Covered in vines and protected by several hoopsters, this is essentially a maze of enemies making life hard. This gave me a bit of anxiety trying to get up here, and at the top, a Birdo stands in my way. This one is on a very short platform to work with, so this is one of the more challenging ones so far. I just dodged one final egg that could have killed me, and I take her out. Falling into this next room, I have my second encounter with Triclyde. This is a little tricky as there's not a lot of safe spaces here to avoid his fireballs. There is a small dead spot right at the bottom, but I actually learned you can build a wall with the mushroom bricks, and Triclyde's fireballs can't go through the bricks, allowing me to stand safely behind them and hurl the remaining bricks over the wall. This strategy worked flawlessly. Triclyde didn't stand a chance. I guess in this case, building a wall proved tremendously effective. Alright, the game really starts to throw everything at me at this point, and there are bombs everywhere. They're being dropped from Albatross. There's a small hut at the end of this level, and now I need to hop on an Albatross and ride it all the way back to the final veggie rocket. Up to this densely packed area of clouds, I have to weave my way down these clouds and go under this pillar and up the ladder. Heading up more, I am confronted with several sparks rotating all around everything. Getting to the top took me several tries, but eventually I do get up there to this small building, and inside is a Birdo who I am able to take out pretty quickly. Entering into the final stage of the game, I'm still up in the clouds and I'm being shot at by several snifts. Not long in, and I'm met with what looks like a drawbridge that enters into this castle. Several conveyor belts are going back and forth, followed by some chain climb. This room is a long vertical platforming section guarded by sparks. The platforming and timing required here really puts my skills to the test. I'm not a very good gamer, so for me this was quite a challenge. My patience gets tested, but after several deaths, I do get to the door at the top. Inside, it's up a chain and back to a conveyor belt. Heading down to the next chain and waiting for me is the last Birdo in the entire game. This one is on a conveyor belt, and it changes the whole timing that I've been accustomed to up to this point. She's holding a key, and defeating her lets me progress and open the next door. The next room has an orb we can pick up and move on. You know, the orb that signals completion of a stage. The orb of a job well done. The stress and anxiety can settle down just a little bit. The orb that every single time before this you pick up is a signal to grab it and jump into the bird's mouth. Well, F you, because as soon as you pick up this orb, and my innocent childhood brain jumps into the bird's mouth as he comes to life to chomp down hard on my reality, a reality that life's not fair, a reality of bills and taxes for the rest of my life, a reality that every day you grow older, some other phantom pain creeps into your body and you have to say to yourself, well, I guess I gotta deal with this debuff for the rest of my life. Anyway, I respawn, throw some bricks at him, and he opens his mouth real wide, and I'm able to progress. Well, here it is, the final boss, Wart. The manual says he is the most mischievous in all of the world of dreams. He created monsters by playing with the dream machine. Wart is a frog-looking guy who shoots streams of bubbles. They must be poison bubbles or something, because I've never been afraid of a bubble in my life. It took a bit to figure out that you need to throw the vegetables in his mouth in order to do damage, so I need to wait until he's right about to start shooting his bubbles and then start chucking veggies. I'm not able to get him this time, and I struggle with some of the platforming earlier in this level, so I get a full reset before I meet Wart again. Wart is able to change the trajectory of his attacks depending on where you're standing, but there are a couple of dead spots you can stand in. I did find to just keep moving while trying to catch the veggies was the best option. After choking Wart with vegetables, he dies, and heading into the next room, I see a vase with a cork in it. Pulling the cork frees these 8 flying guys, and I have no idea who these guys are, but they proceed to carry Wart's corpse across the screen. Feels a bit like a victory lap as our 4 characters are now standing up on a podium as these little guys are cheering us on. It cuts to Mario sleeping in his bed, and now we realize that this was all just a dream. So now, Super Mario Bros. 2 is complete. Now that Super Mario Bros. 2 is complete, let's go through the pros and the cons. Starting with the cons, of course. My first con is the omission of Bowser. I feel like this just adds another layer to the fact that this doesn't really feel like a Mario game in a traditional sense. It's not a deal breaker, but it is one of those things that if Bowser was there, it would kind of fit the universe a little bit better. My second con is it makes sense that this one feels like the odd one out. There's very little here tying it into the Mario universe other than the characters themselves. So I do understand where people are coming from when they say that this is the sort of ugly duckling of the series. My final con is that they explain everything away in the fact that it's just a dream. I mean, it's an easy way to explain how odd and how out of place the game is within the universe of Mario, but it does feel like a bit of a cop-out, and it would have been nice to see some effort put in there. All right, let's talk about the pros. The first thing I noticed when playing through this is just how good everything is. The quality of this game is just so solid. The mechanics, the way you interact with the levels, and like the design, everything just works really well here. You can see why Nintendo chose this for their reskin, because the game itself is fantastic. So it was an obvious choice for them to say, hey, we need a Mario game. Why don't we take this and put Mario in it? This is just such a solid all-around experience. My next pro is that the boss variety in this game is really good. Compared to Super Mario Bros. 1 on the NES, and you're just constantly facing Bowser over and over and over, you have a lot of different enemies here that are doing slightly different things, and you have to plan for each one accordingly. And that's really cool to see that sort of development through the series. The level design is also really good in this. It starts out nice and easy, gets you used to all your new mechanics, and then slowly ramps up and gets really challenging towards the end. The platforming sections at the end really tested me, and it was really fun to be able to overcome those. If I had to give this a score today, probably give Super Mario Bros. 2 an 8.5. This is just such a good game. It builds on the quality of a game compared to the first one. Obviously the universe is very different, so that's kind of a bit of a letdown, a bit of a bummer, but it's just such an all-around good game. It moves well, it plays well, it looks great for an NES game. I love it. I think this is an 8.5 all day. And as far as difficulty, I give this a 5. I feel like this is a good game where you have to learn the mechanics, you have to learn where the enemies are, where to do good platforming. This is just a really good baseline for it's challenging but not too challenging as long as you practice and you learn it. So 5 feels really good here. Would I recommend this game today? Absolutely. It's an interesting game, it's a weird game. It's like a shift in Super Mario Brothers that you're used to, but some of the things do carry forward in the series, so it's really cool to see that. And again, the game looks and controls really nice on the NES. Everything seems to work as you would expect it to. There's nothing here that you just go, well, that's just unfair and this shouldn't be that way. The game really does feel well done. Also, your ability to choose from 4 different characters means that you can sort of jump in and find out who you're most comfortable with. And if you choose Luigi, I don't really even have to tell you. You'll find out that you're wrong. So with Super Mario Bros. 2 done, I did a random draw to pick the next game, and the next game coming up is
Double Dragon. So I've never played Double Dragon before. I know this is a really popular series for people back in the day, so I'm really excited to be able to show you guys how that playthrough went. And I just want to thank you guys again. The support on the last video was absolutely incredible. I appreciate all the likes, the comments, all the subscriptions, all that sort of stuff. It really helps me out. It honestly keeps me very motivated. I was very surprised and very happy, and I was not expecting it. So if you enjoyed this, give me a follow, give me a like. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time.